Ask Reddit. Former gang members. What incident happened that made you realize you didn't want to be in a gang anymore? Brazilian here. I was a teenager in the mid 2000s. Used to hang with a lot of other kids who were also low middle class and had a lot of time and liberty to be on the streets causing havoc. A lot of them were hooligans. In Brazil, hooligans are really common in major cities with big football teams, but it's somewhat different from those in Europe. People hang in the torcidas organizadas, wear uniforms, sometimes carry guns and fight over petty shit with people from other torcidas. The main goal is to beat and steal the other crew's materials, like shirts, hats, flags and this kind of shit. It's not uncommon to see people die over this ridiculous nonsense. Anyway, it was a large gang, but no one did heavy stuff, like killing people. Even though sometimes someone was packing a revolver or a pistol, at least I never heard of something like that. We used to beat the crap out of other people from other hoods, though. Some of us were really violent. A lot of my friends trained martial arts just for the sake of kicking people's ass on the street. I stopped hanging around because some of my friends got arrested for attempted murder, and they just didn't give a single duck even after jail. Some of them also sold weed and I began to wake up to the fact that shit was getting more serious. I had a lot of doubts before, after seeing people get wrecked over nothing, like random street fights were common. I saw a couple of random dudes getting their heads stepped on, noses exploded, teeth broken, people threatening others with fire weapons. I chose to focus on school, and years later I'm a lawyer with no criminal background. Thankfully, my friends from that time are doing okay, I guess. They are alive, and I think that's a good thing, considering what they used to do and how many enemies they made. I'm sorry if I made any grammar mistakes. I'm Brazilian and rarely write in English. Throwaway since I don't want any connections to my main account. I was a prospect in a motorcycle gang. Back in the days I somehow romanticized Sons of Anarchy and found myself as a hangaround at the local chapter of a well-known club. I was pretty passive, helped where I could and just tried to blend in as best as I could. After a few weeks I was seeing them as friends. They seemed like regular guys. The most of them had pretty decent jobs and were well educated, even though the parties tended to be rough. Many people were beat up for fun and things like that. A few months later I was proposed to be a prospect, got the leather and was the happiest guy. Things turned fast. Being more inside the club meant to know more. The guys you linked to hang around with were dealing with small firearms. Nearly everyone was secretly on drugs, even though the club rules meant that you can get drunk but not high. I stood with them, cause I still called them my buddies, until I was asked to steal electronics from a parked truck. Didn't want to end up in jail like my cousin, who got 3 years for stealing a simple radio. I denied and without a warning I got the beating of my life. They took away my jacket and said to repeat the beating if I'm ever coming back again. Not my story, but a good friend of mine took a job as a go-go dancer at a bar where a member of the big well-known biker gang worked as a guy who kept drunks from bothering her. She grew to see him as a friend and protector. Later she got talked into working as a dominatrix for a dungeon they operated, where again, they protected her from clients. She found it all very sexy and dangerous. Cool outlaw shit with tough guys protecting her. As she got in deeper, she got pressured to do some minor sexual things with clients. Not just whips and spanks, but hand jobs. And she started getting scared they were going to pressure her into sex eventually. One night at the bar clubhouse that they owned, she walked into the back and saw a couple guys raping a girl she knew and she went in to stop it, naively thinking she was someone they valued and would listen to. Instead she, a 115-pound 20-year-old, got the shit kicked out of her as a warning to never tell anyone about the rape. She fled that world so quick after that, but always got nervous when she saw any of them, and to this day, decades later, has a lot of shame about not doing more to help that girl and being too scared to report their activities to the authorities. A couple of 3 things. A. Got too old for that shit. B. Joined the army and C. Realized, thankfully not too late, almost shooting a mother ducker dead for talking shit to my boy wasn't in my best interests long term. I think back to that point and thank duck I did not do something so dumb. Cringy. What was the rationale for C, when gang members straight up murder someone just because something so minor? Used to have a very serious drug problem, coupled with the fact I grew up in a rough hood. It was inevitable. Basically I needed protection and drugs. But like most people here are pointing out, eventually you just get too old for that shit. Kicked my drug habit several years ago. Found an amazing girl and realized I didn't have to stay in such a dangerous spot. We moved out to the mountains, and aside from my police record and my ongoing struggle with addiction, I left those demons back in the city. For real though, you can leave your hood so easily if you want to. Took me so long to realize that. 1 year clean from heroin here. Don't actually know how long it's been exactly, but you can do it. The struggle is real and it's a real bitch. I hope you have all the happiness in life you deserve. Got older and seemed stupid. Felt stupid representing a group of 7th grade dropouts. I wanted to represent myself. The ones that aren't dead or in prison still live with their parents and all they have going for them in life is that red bandana. There's a chapter in the book, Freakonomics, about most gang members still living with their parents. Lots more very interesting stuff in there too. Pretty hard to get a legit job when you have felonies, and pretty hard to get an apartment or house when you have no official job or credit or tax record, etc. Not really a gang, just a crew, 7 poor, misguided youth selling drugs and robbing dealers for food and fun money. We got drunk and coked up every weekend and went partying. Then by the end of the night we were doing stupid shit like vandalism and end up in someone's house kicking the shit out of them and jacking their stuff, usually drugs and other sellables. People started getting too heavy into the coke. Some got into meth. Others just wanted to try and be rappers and music producers. At that time my mom was diagnosed with cancer and I needed an income to pay some bills. I had to grow up quick. Selling drugs and robbing dealers wasn't cutting it, and I ain't cut out for that life either. I slowly started losing contact, hanging around less, quit coke and heavy drinking, started roofing, and I was out after I didn't talk to any of them for a bit. The one, my best friend who I grew up with, didn't take it too well and thought I was just a bitch and whatnot. I'm a bitch. So be it. Damn bro. How's your mom now? Died 4 years ago. She got diagnosed around my birthday in the summer and died in February the next year. Committed a crime with one of my boys. I was 17 and he was 18. He got caught and I didn't. He did 5 years in jail for it and he never ratted me out. I appreciated it, but also, I was turning 18 soon and I didn't want to risk jail time for other crimes. I walked away from it and never looked back. 10+ years later and I'm a doctor now. I feel like a completely different person. No more anger in my heart. Time away from the set with people that cared. Family overseas. Long story short, went to my dad's dirt poor village and saw how happy they were with nothing and how hard and backbreaking daily life was, but if you didn't move you didn't eat kinda shit. Really made me rethink my life doing dumb shit. Went back with the resolve to make it and feel I'm well on my way to doing it. Hey, exactly this. My overseas family has come out of poverty now and are sort of rich, but there is still poverty everywhere. I saw kids do insane shit for the privilege of grade school, like walk to school in a poisonous snake infested field, or walk 5 miles there and back every day. I saw the beggars and the laborers. My aunt hired me a cook, so I could experience local cuisine. This man works 51 weeks a year, 1 week off. He works 7 days a week. He likes to drink 1 or 2 beers every year. During his week off, a beer every year. And he was so happy, excited that his wife was having a kid he sees for 1 week a year, if he can manage to keep finding work. When I left, I understood how ducking hard some people work for the privilege of school that I take for granted, or just to ducking survive. I have my bachelor's now and I'm going for my master's, and haven't looked back. I try and help 2 of my homies. One got his GED and I'm trying to convince the other to do trade school or something. Age, I've been in some ducked up situations, but none of these deterred me. I was young and angry, and each time someone would make a move against me my first thought wasn't, I need to stop. It was, it's time to get this person back and make them hurt worse than they hurt me. I was this way until around 21, but then I met my now wife and saw there was more to life than just walking around with a chip on my shoulder. Now I work in fashion for a mid-level label in NYC and can actually enjoy life. I keep in contact with my homies, and I love them, but you can see who stayed in that life a little too long. Some are dead, and not even from violence. from depression. They aged out of that life and found that they had no options. Couldn't find a job because of their criminal record. Didn't finish school or obtain a GED, so they couldn't even join the military. I watched them go from angry to frustrated to basically pleading for opportunities. Then, bam, gone. And these were the older guys everyone thought was cool when we were younger. But eventually we realized that wasn't the case. For the others that finished school, they are doing okay. Most work blue collar or manufacturing jobs. They are happy for the most part, or maybe just satisfied with complacency. I agree with you. Age is a factor of overcoming these things. Some articles I've read say an individual's brain doesn't fully develop until 20 to 25 years old, especially the frontal lobe where decision making occurs, emotional connection, problem solving, motivation. I got roped into a skinhead gang in the late 90s because I grew up in a place where white people were a significant minority. We only made up about 15% of the population, so it was a join or die situation because white loners were seen as targets. Hispanic gangs. I got roped in by the rhetoric about white people sticking together and how everything was a threat to white people, etc. I left when I realized that we were doing the same shit as all the other gangs. Selling drugs to our own people, defending our territory while vandalizing it and treating it like shit, all while preaching about how we were defending the white race. I realized it was all BS from top to bottom. The racism stuck with me for a few years afterward. That didn't go away until I joined the military and saw that dividing along racial lines was absolute horse shit and that the real threat were the rich men in suits trying to bleed us all dry. My brother showed how to live that life. I was breaking up weed back when I was 10. By the time I was 15 I knew how to cut up coke. Funny thing is my brother taught me these things, but after he caught a charge, came out and straightened up. He met a woman, got a house, got married, and had my niece. I wasn't doing well in school at the time, so I had to work my ass off to graduate on time. I went to summer school every summer. Took 2 extra classes Monday through Wednesday my sophomore year after school. I don't regret us doing our dirt. We had to do what we had to do to stay afloat. But I would never want my kid, nieces, or nephews to ever be put in those situations.